Let's talk now, though, to Rear Admiral Chris Parry, former NATO commander, very sensible man. A couple of stories have crossed the desk this morning, Chris, which beggar belief, to be honest. I'm looking at a picture right now of a Falklands warship landing craft F8, which has been wrapped in the LGBTQ plus pride colours. And I just I said to myself and to Christian, my producer, can you imagine pitching up at D-Day and the D-Day landings at the start of, you know, Saving Private Ryan in one of these things?
Well, Mike, we've got to stress this is a museum exhibit. It's actually a landing craft used to belong to a ship I commanded, actually,
right.
HMS Fearless. But it isn't in the Navy. It's not representative of the modern fighting service. We always believe in all of one company. We don't actually separate people out by political or other leanings. And frankly, this battle was fought and won 25 years ago when gays were openly allowed in the armed forces.
Yeah.
In fact, the first gay officer in the Navy was in my ship who was allowed to come out quite openly. So this is something that's been fought and won. The drum doesn't need banging anymore. It's quite divisive, I think. Nobody really recognises it anymore.
No, I mean, I think the museums that we have in this country that house military, you know, regalia and military vessels and things that have been used in previous battles are, you know, substantial enough without having to sort of, you know, modernise them in order for a new audience to appreciate them. I just think it's totally ridiculous. I mean, it comes at the same time as the Foreign Office is apparently in trouble because they flew the Bisexual Awareness Week flag without getting permission from Westminster City Council. And you think, well, why the hell are the Foreign Office flying that flag when they should be flying the Union flag?
Well, there's all sorts of things, Mike, about, you know, what are your priorities? You know, there's quite a lot going on in the world. The Foreign Commonwealth Office really should be concentrating on that and actually having an information campaign that actually furthers British interests. This sort of token sort of performance in Arsenal is not part really of the statecraft we want for this country. No,
we really don't. I mean, at least we're not as bad as the Americans, though. We haven't lost any jets at sea. I don't know if you saw that story about the aircraft carrier in the Red Sea that made a sharp turn. And you're an expert in this, obviously being a former NATO commander and a Navy man. An extraordinary story that sort of happened last week, I know, of how they lost one of their, I think it was an F16 that fell off the back of the aircraft carrier when they were moving it.
Yeah, I mean, this does happen, Mike, you know, especially with the Americans. They're operating at very high tempo out in the Red Sea at the moment. And you get situations where, you know, you've got a very crowded flight deck, unlike our aircraft carriers, which only have 8 jets on, of course. Right. They've got about 90 jets on theirs.
Yeah, that's a slightly different...
And so, yeah, it's a pretty difficult parking space. So occasionally when they're manoeuvring under helm, it's going to happen.
Yeah, amazing story. One final one for you. Hundreds of sailors on a £3.5 billion Royal Navy aircraft carrier, the HMS Queen Elizabeth, which I think is docked in Portsmouth right now, are being sent home to have showers because they haven't been able to get the showers to work, apparently with hot water, due to a lack of spare parts.
Yeah, it's disgraceful, isn't it? This is the price you pay for having really sort of fragile supply chains.
Yeah.
When I joined the Navy a long time ago, just after the Mary Rosewick Commission, we actually used to make our own spares for this sort of thing, right, to tell you the truth. And you know, it's a function of the fragility, as I said, of some of those supply chains. But I can tell you, Mike, you know, when I was in the services, we had whole army barracks that didn't have showers and things like that.
Right.
They used to have to go down the local swimming pool to have a shower there. Some of the accommodation was so bad, this is 20 years ago now, and some of it's not much better. The soldiers actually went all the way down from Aldershot to South Wales to go home every night.
Yeah, that's amazing, isn't it? And yeah, I mean, I haven't seen a story like it for a while, but there was regular stories like that, certainly when I was in Fleet Street, I mean, it probably was 20 years ago, where terrible conditions for servicemen and women in these barracks. But is there any chance the MOD's upped their game there?
Yeah, they need to. I mean, part of the problem, Mike, is we've contracted out so much of the infrastructure and services that getting sort of quality control on it according to service standards is incredibly difficult. You know, we're still getting these sorts of problems, not just in our warships, but also in the shore establishments as well. And the politicians go through the motions all the time, saying how important our servicemen and veterans are. There's this military covenant that everybody signs up to, but I'm afraid to say, when it comes to action, there's nobody really in charge of seeing whether it's implemented or not. They really need somebody, a czar, if you like, to keep control of this.
Yeah, I mean, they seem to have somebody decent with Alistair Cairns now in the Ministry of Defence. I mean, I've spoken to a few veterans who say he's actually not a bad guy. I don't know whether you know him, but is there?
I do know him. But, I mean, he's done his military service. He's now a politician. You and I can't help that he's gone to the dark side. But I'm afraid we've got to assess our politicians by how effective they are in the role. He is a good guy. He's, had a great military career, but I'm afraid he's got to be judged now on what he delivers and the company he keeps.
Yeah, well, we should keep a very close eye on it. Rear Admiral Chris Parry, great to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed, former NATO commander.